This is Mike Spreitzer from Devildriver, and you're listening to Thunder Underground.
Welcome to episode 299 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent and Jason here as always. And this week, very cool because we've got Mike Spreitzer, guitarist of Devildriver, joining us. That's another one of those bands that I've loved since the beginning, so very glad to finally get a member of this band on here. And very glad that it's Mike, someone that's been there since almost the beginning. We'll be talking about their brand new album and a lot of other stuff here coming up. We're going to play some music. We've got, 299. We're one episode away from that big 300. Pretty crazy,
yeah,
huh?
We're pretty old now.
Yeah. Well, I'll save that for the next one, but I was like, 300 just seemed like out of reach a few years ago, but here we are.
All right.
But we're not 300 yet. We're at 299 with Mike Spreitzer, so that's what we're going to deal with today. I like that. That almost played in. We're going to deal with demons today. How about that? Dealing with Demons, Volume 1. But first, we need to let you know, as always, we're sponsored by a few places, one of them being Hella Hot Sauce. It's a hot sauce company based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. They do small batch artisan hot sauces, and you can see their selection on their website, HellaHotHotSauce.com. You can also follow them on their socials. Facebook and Instagram are both at Hella Hot Sauce. They do collaborations. They've got one with Ghoul called Brain Jerk, and they've got one with Florida Frank from Hatebreed called Florida Frank's Florida Heat. We've got some of that. It's great tasting, but it'll clean your insides out.
Kidding.
If you get a little too much of it.
Yeah. If you're constipated, you don't need to go. You don't need to go to the store and get any kind of medicine. Just get some of Florida Frank's Florida Heat.
And we don't mean that negatively.
No.
This is good. It's great flavor.
Clean you the hell out.
Yeah, absolutely. So
in the best way.
Yeah. So check all those out at HellaHotHotSauce.com. And of course, tell them Thunder Underground sent you. If you're on the West Coast, by the way, you can pick them up in stores. So do that. MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 24683 East Highway 51. You can see their entire selection of products at leafly.com. Check out their website, medfarmok.com, and their socials, medfarmok on Instagram and medfarm on Facebook. That's PHARM. They're always running specials on there. They also have an ongoing special, which is if you mention Thunder Underground, they'll give you 10% off your first order. So a huge thank you to them for that. And they've got a drive-thru. So if you call ahead or text ahead, you can fly right up there and get your product and get on your way. The most important thing is that nearly a third of their profits, 30% of it, is going to build no-kill animal shelters, which is a massive thing that not just any dispensary, most any business doesn't do stuff like that. So they're giving away nearly a third of what they're making to an amazing cause. So wherever you're at in the Tulsa area, get over to MedFarm and mention Thunder Underground. Sunset Tattoo shop located right in the heart of Midtown Tulsa. Their tattoos are done good and proper. They're state licensed. They are mother approved. Jake and his crew have over 25 years of experience. They do a ton of great work. If you don't believe my words, get on their Facebook or their Instagram at Sunset Tattoo Tulsa, and then you can see pictures to get proof that way. Both of us know people that have had work by Jake done. We know that it's done, like you said, good and proper, and it looks good. So get over there, give them a shout, have a consultation to talk about what work you need to get done, and tell them Thunder Underground sent you. Finally, DEB Concerts is a promoter based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Keeps bringing some great acts to the downtown Tulsa area, like the Ideal Ballroom, the BOK Center, and they also book the Roadhouse stage every year at Rocklahoma. Coming up here on December 12th, Lita Ford will return to the Ideal Ballroom, but this will be a socially distanced acoustic show, which is something different from Lita, so very cool. She'll be playing acoustically with Patrick Kennison, and Palandria will also be playing acoustic open in that show, and Eddie Trunk will be hosting that show. So we got a lot of names there. If you're in the Oklahoma area, get over there on December 12th to check that one out. And coming up in a few months, recently announced, April 10th, downtown Tulsa, in the streets in front of Ideal Ballroom, Queensryche, Lita Ford, Nita Strauss, and the reunited all original members of the Bullet Boys. Very, very, very cool lineup right there, I think. What do you think?
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Queensryche with Todd LaTorre is amazing, by the way.
Yes, they're great.
And really looking forward to seeing Nita Strauss solo. There's another one for you guys to check out. DEBconcerts.com is where all the ticket info's at. You can also be kept up to date on any future announcements and any reschedules of any of the postponed stuff. And of course, we'll keep you up to date right here on our podcast as well. So huge thank you to DEB Concerts. All right, before we get into this interview with Mike Spreitzer, let's play some music.
Right.
I'm going to play a band right now out of Denver, Colorado. So let's jump into this right here. This is Bound by Years, and the song is called Hopeless. Hopeless from Bound by Years. That track is from their EP that came out in 2018. They've also got a brand new full-length album coming out December 12th called What Fate May Bring. You can get on boundbyyears.com to pre-order that bad boy, or wait till the 12th and buy it that way.
Right.
But based off of this EP and that song Hopeless, really looking forward to this album because that was, as Jamie Josta would say, a banger for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when that shit comes out, let's, get them back on here.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Goes well, I believe, with the Devildriver episode. Some great metal with some heavy vocals, some clean vocals, some killer guitar work, and some all kinds of cool stuff going throughout this. And kind of a shout out here, good friend Crystal Carnes, who co-hosts the Marriage on the Rocks podcast with her husband Seth, turned me on to these guys because her cousin Sean Gonzalez is one of the guitarists of this band. So shout out to Crystal for letting us know about Bound by Years, and really looking forward to hearing their new album. And like you said, might have to try to get someone on this podcast.
Oh, definitely. When that new shit comes out, for sure.
Yeah. So check out Bound by Years. You can see them at boundbyyears.com. Facebook is Bound by Years, and Instagram is at, you guessed it, Bound by Years. And tell them you heard about them here. All right. Is there anything else we should talk about before we jump into Devildriver?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, we got it covered.
Yeah. This is kind of our second episode this week. We talked about the new AC/DC album, Power Up, on our episode with Paige Hamilton a few days ago. We've got 2 new videos out. Dark Tranquility's new album, Moment, comes out tomorrow, Friday the 20th. It's a killer album. We have a video of that on our YouTube. A video review of that. We've also got a video review of the brand new Hatebreed album called Weight of the False Self that comes out next Friday, November 27th.
Mm-hmm.
As we dubbed on that video, that is no longer Black Friday. It's now Hatebreed Friday.
Right.
And
I mean,
that album is killer too. Sorry to cut you off.
The only other thing that I would know to talk about, but I can't really say much, is that Metallica stream last night.
Oh, yeah.
Just because the set list was nuts.
Yeah, we hadn't got to see it, but based off that set list, both of us are like, we got to see this thing.
I'm stupid when it comes to technology. I don't know how to watch this thing on my fucking TV unless it's on YouTube or something. But Wasting My Hate, they fucking played that like for the first time in God knows how long.
That's insane.
And they did like an electric version of their reimagined acoustic version of Disposable Heroes.
Right.
It's like, I mean, from my understanding,
the live debut of the blackened acoustic. Yeah,
it's like, I gotta fucking see this somehow.
Yeah.
I gotta figure some technology out or something. So, So yeah, that's something cool, but that's really all that.
Well, after the Metallica drive-in generic set list, it was exciting to see this.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, there you go.
So yeah.
Moving right along.
Oh yeah. Maybe by the next episode or 2, we'll have been able to check this out and talk a little more about it. But yeah, I guess until then, we got to talk about Devildriver. They've got a brand new album. This album came out, over a month ago now, and we talked to Mike over a month ago as well, which has been our kind of ongoing theme here the last several weeks, where we have so many recorded episodes in the can that these aren't coming out for over a month after we record them, which, in a way I'm like, man, I want to get this out, but you can't. It's not like if this was our only thing we did in life and we made a shitload of money off it, maybe we'd be putting out episodes every 2 days, but
exactly,
that's not the real world.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've got albums, we've got episodes, interviews coming out here 4 or 5 weeks after we record them, and Mike Spreitzer is no different. But this was a fun one because we talked about Dealing with Demons, Volume 1, which came out, like I said, early October. Dealing with Demons Volume 2 will be out in 2021 sometime. And if we know it'll be something similar to Volume 1, which is a good sign because this is a killer album. It's even got some clean vocals from Dez, which is killer as well. We talked about that with Mike. Talked about some other great stuff. Also a little Eddie Van Halen there towards the end, which was included with our Eddie Van Halen episode a few weeks ago.
And he got to meet Eddie Van Halen.
That's right.
So that's great. That's a good take.
Yeah. You'll hear all about that coming up right now. So let's just jump into it here. Here's Mike Spreitzer, guitarist of Devildriver. Dealing with Demons 1 is out now, and I mean, this album was, actually completed in 2019, and then, of course, with COVID and everything, you got it pushed back. Was it kind of frustrating to have to sit on new music for that long?
I keep on telling people that I find comfort in the fact that we don't have a choice, and we've been on tour for so much over the last 16 years that, time comes around for a break, it kind of is what it is. And I'm still working on music, I'm mixing records for bands and doing some producing here and there. I've got another Wednesday 13 record we're going to start, I think, in January. And, as long as I can surf, make some money and work on music, I'm the happiest man alive. So I try not to let it affect me too much.
And talk about the idea to do a concept album with this one.
As far as it being a quote unquote concept record, that's a question. The concept kind of lies in the lyrics, and that's more of a question for Dez. But as far as just doing a double record, that was an idea that Dez had floated around for a long time. I would say at least the last 10 years, and we never did it, but, until now. But I feel now was the best time to do it because, me, Neil, and Austin were just starting to get to know each other when we were working on Trust No One. We had never met before. We kind of got thrown in a room together, and it was like, go write a record. I had written a good majority of it by that time already, by myself. But now, after being out on tour with those guys, doing Trust No One, doing the Outlaws record, it was an easy record, and judging by what I knew about those two guys, and knew that I was going to be stuck with them writing for a very long time, and then also in the studio for a long time, I didn't have a problem with it because I really like being around them, and we enjoy working together. And it was probably the most fun record that I've ever done since I joined the band. It was fun. And, there are parts, there were some frustrations here and there. But it was minimal, very minimal.
So did you guys record 1 and 2 at the same time, or is 2 still something that needs to be recorded?
No, they're all completely done. We did all 20 songs all at the same time. We had no idea what songs were going to go on which record until they were done, And you got to understand too that when me, Austin, Neil, and our producer Steve Evitz, when we're done recording the music, we still have no idea what the vocals are going to sound like. Dez gets the songs in the demo phase before we actually, after we do pre-production at my studio. So he's got an idea of what the songs are going to be like, and he'll start writing while we're in the studio recording the music. But we've never been the type of band to all get together and jam in a room all the songs before we go in. Now, we did do this with the music, but it was just me, Neil, Austin, and Steve, and Des would show up from time to time and see how things are going. And we always liked it when he came by because he always brought food with him. But, it's just how Des likes to do things. And, sometimes you can have too many cooks in the kitchen when you got the full band in there, and, the three of us work really well together. And it's just, I kind of just, I like the way things are working for us right now. And The only thing that was different about this record is, compared to Trust No One, is that we just had a different producer. And nothing against Mark or any of the other people that we worked with in the past, but sometimes it's nice to just get a different perspective from a different person that's been producing a very long time.
I mean, even though you said the concept thing was kind of on Dez with the lyrics, but like, do you know, are the two albums like meant to be one big concept, or they kind of both stand on their own in that sense?
I see it more as one big concept, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be called Volume 1 and Volume 2. They probably would have their own titles.
Right. Also, in the song Wishing, you got clean vocals from Dez, which isn't really common in Devildriver, at least. What are your thoughts on expanding your guys' sound kind of in that way?
Like I said before, I'm not really familiar with what Dez is going to do on a particular song until it's already done. And Steve sent me that song after they recorded it, and it gave me goosebumps. I was like, dude, this is amazing. And Dez had a little bit of a moment where he wasn't so sure if we should go that direction, and was contemplating re-recording the verses and getting rid of the clean vocals. But I think Steve, I think he called me and told me that Dez was on the fence about it. So I immediately called him and was like, dude, just trust me. I understand why you're worried about releasing something like this, and you have every right to be. But I promise you, this is so good that I think we should release this as the third or fourth single off Volume 1. And it should be on Volume 1. And people need to hear it early on. And, after that conversation, everything stayed the same. But, knowing now what Dez can do, and the fact that we've been a band for so long, I think we're not really proving to the community that what we are. Now it's at the point where, we're proving to people, can we still do it? Can we still write good music and put it out after all this time? And a lot of bands have a tendency to struggle with that as they get older. But now that I know Dez can do stuff like that, as far as I'm concerned, that just broke down another wall that I was up against. It's just write music that Dez is going to scream over. And I know I don't have to do that anymore. So I'm definitely going to start throwing Dez some curveballs, and he'd probably call me up and be like, what the hell do you want me to do over this part? And I'm like, well, look what you did with Wishing. Kind of go in that direction. See what you can do, and if you hit a roadblock, just let me know and I'll rewrite it. But take a stab at it. And so I'm definitely going to be doing some of that stuff in the future now. It's a direction I can go that I've never been able to go before.
Well, you mentioned Outlaws, and you guys have already said there'd be a Volume 2 here within 2 or 3 years, maybe. Like, do you guys already have songs decided for that, or is that something that'll happen once the time comes?
I don't think there's ever going to be a Volume 2, personally.
Oh, okay.
I suppose it's possible, but I think we've done enough cover songs at this point. We've done Iron Maiden, we've done Metallica, we've done 16 Horsepower, we've done a million other, all the different bands or people that we covered songs on the Outlaw record, and also Sail. It's, I think we've done enough for now. Not to say that we'll never do it, but it's not something that's a priority for me.
Gotcha. Well, you mentioned Neil earlier, and he kind of came into the band from mainly non-metal projects. What was him that kind of put him on your guys' radar?
He was not on my radar, and actually, before I met him, I was a little concerned because, of his past. Playing with David Cook from American Idol, and the other bands that he had been in, weren't. It seemed like an unlikely choice,
right?
But he and Dez have been friends for a couple of years. All three of us, me, Neil, and Dez, had all owned a Harlequin Great Dane at one point. And my Great Dane, who actually just passed away about a month ago, and his Great Dane came from the same mother. So they were half brother, half sister. And his is still around. And unfortunately, Neil's also passed away about a year ago. But Neil's wife and Dez's wife somehow started contacting each other because of the Great Danes over Instagram. They became friends. Neil would, head down to Dez's house, hang out. They would drink. And so they became close. I wasn't convinced on Neil until he came over to my house to try out, and I made him play the song Dead to Rights, which is one of the trickier songs to play on guitar. And so I figured, like, if he can play this, he can play anything in our catalog. And, he played it extremely well. I liked his vibe, and it was like an immediate change. I was just like, you know what? Sold. Dez, you were totally right. This is the guy. And, he basically threw me and Austin and Neil into my studio at my house, and they were like, go write a record. Right. And most of Trust No One had been written already by that point, but, I didn't want to write that record completely on my own. I work better when I'm collaborating with people. And it was a fun process. It's like me, Neil, and Austin, we clicked immediately. We became friends really quickly. And it's just a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. And I think Trust No One was just kind of getting us started, and Outlaws kind of smoothed the path of us working together. And then when we got to Dealing with Demons, it was like, oh, okay, I get to go do a record with some of my best friends. Cool. And I'm sure they felt the same way.
So now after that time has passed, how do you guys feel? How do you feel you guys complement each other as guitar players?
Neil, I would say that I shine in the rhythm department and Neil shines in the lead department. He is definitely a better soloist than I am. And I want to say part of the reason why is because he plays guitar right-handed, but he's left-handed. And so his dominant hand is on the fretboard, where my dominant hand is over the pickups. And weird rhythms on my right hand come to me very easily, and I just have this way of, plucking the strings that has a little bit more bite and high end than Neil does. And he has, when he could play through the same exact guitar, through the same amp, everything, and when he picks up that guitar, he's going to have a lot more low end coming out of it. It just sounds bassier. And our producer, Steve Evans, thought that would complement each other very well. So, on 90% of the records, I think just except for 2 songs, I'm always playing on one side and Neil's playing on the right side as far as rhythms go. But he has definitely pushed me in a different direction as far as leads and solos go, because he's so good at it that it's kind of changed my way of thinking about how to go around it. And, I think I've pushed him in a direction where he's done things from a rhythm standpoint that he hasn't done before. He's wasn't really in a position back in the day where he had to do the super fast tremolo picking, through, for minutes on end, depending on what song we're playing. And, so we do complement each other very well. It's like where I have weaknesses, he has strengths, and vice versa.
Well, you mentioned like kind of just going into the studio with him and Austin, and when you were still completing the writing process, like, so were you totally open to letting, 2 guys that hadn't been a part of the band be a part of your writing process, like taking all their input?
I was unsure at first, obviously, but over time, and it didn't take that much time at all, I would say over the course of maybe a week or 2, after seeing some of their ideas. And yeah, I mean, I kind of welcomed them with open arms. And it's, like I said, it was easy, it was easy. It was fun. Trust No One, as well as the Outlaw Records or Outlaw Record, and as well dealing with demons. I didn't want to be that guy. I know what it feels like when I joined the band. Some of the other guys were not really enthused about letting me write. And, I came from a much different background where I was into a lot of industrial and goth music, still am. And I think that was taking my writing into a direction that the other guys didn't really like, or some of the other guys didn't really like. But things kind of worked out in my favor because I didn't really write a whole lot for Fury of Our Maker's Hand, but I did write Hold Back the Day. And, we were with Roadrunner at the time, and, our guy there, Monty Connor, who, has a big say on what songs were going to get released first. He really wanted Hold Back the Day to be released first. And I remember some of the other guys really wanted it to be End of the Line first, but Monty was insistent on it. So that kind of gave me a little bit of a boost. And Monty helped encourage the other guys to kind of drop their walls down with me and let me write a little bit more. And as every record came along, I wrote a little bit more, and it takes time. When you join a band, it's kind of like joining a new club, and you got to work your way up a little bit until you can start, laying down your art on everybody.
Right.
But so I didn't want to be that guy that just kind of rejects, the new guys and be like, nope, I'm going to write it all. Because I have found over time that I do write better music when I'm collaborating with people, because I'm very indecisive sometimes. Sometimes I know what I want, I know what I like, and I know what I hate. But sometimes I'll write 5 things that I like, and I don't know which one to use. And it's nice to have Austin and Neil there going like, all right, guys, help me out here.
Yeah.
Out of these 5 ideas, which one do you like the best? And usually Neil and Austin agree immediately, and they're like, "Dude, option B, without a doubt." I'm like, "Good, now I can move on." And sometimes I don't like to make decisions. I want other people to make them for me because it's the listener perceives music different than the writer does, and I want someone that has that perception on what I'm doing to help me make a decision sometimes, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, you guys have worked with a lot of great producers throughout the years. What have you picked up from them along the way, for your own work and your own production work?
Well, luckily, most producers, at least all the ones that I've worked with, they're a lot like me. They like talking about gear. They like talking about how they do things in the studio, swapping ideas. And, I've learned a tremendous amount about production from working with, Logan Maynard, Jason Sukoff, Mark Lewis, and Steve Evans. And, I haven't talked to Logan a whole lot since we finished Pray for Villains, but, I still keep in touch with Jason, Mark, and Steve on a very regular basis. We're all friends. We'll text each other. And, every time that I'm going to buy a new piece of gear for my studio, I almost always consult one or all of them first. It's like, okay, I want this piece of gear, and I know these are the 5 examples. Like, what are your thoughts on all these things? And, a lot of this stuff is pretty expensive, so I want to, make sure I'm buying something good that I'm going to like. And they got a pretty good indication of what I like and what I don't like these days. And, it goes back and forth, Like I was working with, this company Engel recently, and I wanted one of their amps, and we had all used a bunch of them in the past, but the one that I liked the best was one that none of us had ever used before. It was called it's called an Artist Edition, and it goes back and forth. They see me on Instagram trying all these amps, and they'll text me like, okay, which one did you like the best? Oh, you like that one? Why? And we go back and forth about gear constantly. It's like baseball fanatics talking about baseball in their spare time. We like to talk about gear.
In an interview last year, Dez had mentioned that in a few years he was wanting to take an extended break from Devildriver. If that ends up happening, have you given any thought to what you might do musically during that time, or would you think you'd focus more on production?
I think you should be careful about what he asked for, because apparently he's getting it right now.
Well, yeah.
I was unaware of that statement, but I don't know. Like, Dez has thrown out ideas of us taking breaks from the road and taking a break from Devildriver, and you know what? If he ever hears this, I'm sure he's going to agree with me on what I'm about to say. Dez can't take a break. He needs something to do. He likes going out on tour. He likes being on stage. He likes working on music. I think he knows that he probably should take a break, but he ain't never going to take a break. It's just not his style.
Well, like you said, you're getting a free break, I guess, right now. So
we're getting a mandatory. We don't have a choice break right now. And so, yeah, I think that statement is kind of has been drowned out, because here we are taking a break, and I mean, depending on how things go, I mean, it's going to be 2021, 2022 possibly until we're even back out on tour again.
Right. Well, speaking of touring, I saw you guys on the Ozfest in 2004, which I think was your first tour with the band, and
that was my second.
Okay. And you guys were on the second stage, and that lineup of that second stage kind of became a who's who in metal with Slipknot, Lamb of God, Hatebreed, you guys, Lacuna Coil. Like, just kind of talk about the whole experience of doing that, especially in your early 20s.
Well, okay, so, yeah, I mean, I was 23 years old. I was still in college. I had 1 year left. My longtime girlfriend had just broken up with me and returned to her life as a heroin addict. So, and then all of a sudden Devildriver came along and it's like, hey, do you want to go out on tour and join the band? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. Get me the hell out of here. And, you know, my first tour with the band was literally, you know, I had to learn the whole set list, which it was short, but I had to learn the whole set list basically overnight. And they flew me to Gothenburg to open up for In Flames. And that tour lasted for about 3 weeks. And then I came home. We went and recorded Fury of Our Maker's Hand. And then after that, we went out and did Ozfest. So it was just like one good thing after another for me, you know, and just total life-changing experiences. You know, on top of the great lineup on the second stage in Ozfest 2004, you know, we had the original lineup of Black Sabbath. We had the original lineup of Judas Priest. It was the first, you know, I got to see the first show with Rob Halford coming and rejoining Judas Priest. You know, Dimmu Borgir was there, Superjoint Ritual. I mean, it was just, there were so many good bands. And, I mean, I pretty much just spent the entire tour drunk off my ass for 2 months. Just hanging out at the Jaeger booth, drinking, staying up late, you know, just doing everything possible outside of hard drugs. You know, we were always pretty good at staying away from the hard stuff, or at least I was. But, yeah, I would do anything that you could imagine a 23-year-old doing out on a metal tour or out on Ozfest. Yeah, I did it. And I did it well, and I did it as much as possible. And dude, it was so much fun. It was just totally surreal. I did not want to go home. All the guys were like, I'm burned out. I'm ready to go home. I'm like, I'm not ready to go home. I could stay out here for another 2 months if you asked me to. So, yeah, it was a great time. You know, I started getting free guitars from ESP back then. And, you know, just if it wasn't free, it was discounted, and just, you know, tons of gear, people coming at you, and you would play my stuff, here's more free stuff, and you know, here's a free bottle of Jaeger, here's some free beers, you know, and just let me know if you need more, here's a bottle of whiskey, and just you know, so many potential bad things just laid out for you for free. It's a good recipe for trouble, but I welcomed it. It was fun, and luckily, I've never been the type of person to come home from tour and continue going to bars and drinking and whatever. It's just like that's for me has always been something I do on tour, and when I'm at home, I hardly ever drink at all. I'm more concerned about getting up early, going surfing, and losing all the weight that I gained on tour.
Yeah.
Just winding down a couple more here. Kind of back to the pandemic stuff. How have you personally? How have you dealt with the pandemic and kept yourself busy?
I'm busier now than I was before the pandemic, believe it or not.
Good.
I'm mixing bands right now. I've done some recordings with some bands in LA, and I've got stuff down the road that I'm doing later this year. I've got something planned for January. And they did close the beaches around here for a short time, but I was either, finding surf spots that, the police weren't patrolling or, went to a different county. Like LA County was pretty strict. Orange County was kind of like, fuck you, we're not closing shit. And eventually they did, but the lifeguards were only enforcing it in a loose way. Like, all right, well, you can't surf here, but we're not going to kick you out until 11 a.m. And most surfers are done surfing by 11 a.m. around here anyway, and they know that. So they would go park their boat out, in Huntington Beach where I usually go, and they would just like, all right, everyone, surfers hate paddling in. You like to take a wave in and then get out of the water. If you paddle in, you just kind of feel like you're a failure at the end of the day. And the lifeguards were being really cool, just like, all right, guys, one more wave and don't paddle back out. We don't like doing this any more than you guys do, but, we have to. But so, it hasn't really affected me a whole lot. I'm very thankful, and I almost feel bad saying it, but, things are good for me. I can still work on music. I can still surf. I'm still making money. I haven't had to go on unemployment. I haven't taken any kind of government assistance in any shape or form. It's, things are good. I'm very, very happy right now. I got an awesome girlfriend, and we've been hanging out a lot. And I just got myself a dog 2 weeks ago, and yeah, dude, I honestly I couldn't be happier right now.
That's good to hear. We're putting together an episode, a tribute episode to Eddie Van Halen, and we're asking a lot of past guests just to talk about any impact he might have had on them. Did he have any impact on you personally at a young age?
Of course. My oldest brother and sister were teenagers in the 80s, and I was born in 81, so I was pretty young, and luckily they were watching. I'm sure they had a big influence on me as a kid getting into music because they were watching MTV, and we only had one TV back then in the house, and so I was watching MTV with them because my older brother and sister they were super cool to me, and my sister definitely listened to Van Halen quite a bit, and I would never consider myself a huge Van Halen fan, but I mean you can't deny the guy's guitar playing. I mean it is just so incredible, and Eddie has had more of an influence on me just because of his guitar tone and the amps that he helped design back in the day. The PV 5150 block letter, which I believe was the first amp that came out that he put his name on. I mean, I still use it. We just, we used it a lot on Dealing with Demons. It's a fantastic sounding amp, and I would say that's where he's influenced me the most rather than writing. It's just straight guitar tone. And I did get to meet him once. I never got to see him live, but I did get to meet him briefly. one of my good friends is the senior photographer for Guitar Center, and at the time, my girlfriend at the time was doing hair and makeup for all those photo sessions. So I tagged along one day, and when they were shooting Eddie, and I got to meet him and hang out with him very briefly. He was super cool. He was super pro, really nice guy, and I'm very bummed that I never got to see him live, but I am thankful that I got to meet him in person at least once.
Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned it with the amps and the tone. Like, what do you think impact he might have had on you, or like anyone in like heavier music like Devildriver is? Because most people just talk about the shredding or the party vibe of Van Halen.
I don't think anyone in Devildriver has ever been a massive Van Halen fan. So as far as writing goes, I don't think that he's had a massive or almost any kind of influence on us directly. But Eddie had so much influence on other people. Like Jerry Cantrell was Eddie was a big inspiration for Jerry, and also Dimebag as well. And Jerry's it probably is my all-time favorite guitar player. And so there's definitely an indirect influence on me that, Eddie channeling through Jerry and then channeling through me. So, I mean, Eddie has influenced everyone. He's kind of like Genghis Khan. They say that like 1 out of every 5 people in the world is somehow related to Genghis Khan because he just had so many children over his lifetime.
Yeah.
I feel like Eddie is the Genghis Khan of the guitar world. He's just like, if you play guitar, somehow he's had some influence on you, either directly or indirectly.
Right. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Yeah, no problems. Good talking to you guys.
There you go. Mike Spreitzer of Devildriver. A huge thank you to John Freeman of Freeman Promotions for his continued support of our humble podcast here. And of course, a massive thank you to Mike Spreitzer for taking some time out there to talk to us about everything he's got going on with Devildriver. And of course, some other great stuff you just heard. Glad to finally get this one out. If you missed it earlier this week, we had Paige Hamilton of Helmet, which we also recorded that one about a month ago. And hey, coming up, we've got episodes with Michael, the vocalist for Dark Tranquility, John Corabi, the mighty John Corabi, Reb Beach, one of the guitar's fondest friends, in my opinion.
I like how you put that.
I was trying to think of a weird way to say that he's an amazing guitarist.
Go you.
Reb Beach of Winger and Whitesnake, Eric the Trainer, celebrity fitness trainer, which has a new band out, which is why we've got him coming on. We've got In Theory coming up. We've got Frederick you know him from Dragon Force, but he left them a year ago and now he's in Creator. And he has a new band as well that he talks all about on that episode. We've also got one coming up with Matthew Nelson, one half of the Nelson twins. Then we've got one coming up with, I'm missing something, our buddy Eric Bass. And Mitch Perry will be returning to this podcast as well. And like I mentioned beforehand, we recently had an episode which was an Eddie Van Halen tribute, like you heard Mike talk about there. We also had Paige Hamilton on that one, Tyler Bryant, Mitch Perry, Frank Hannon of Tesla, Mark Slaughter, Robin McCauley, Jim Wilson of Motor Sister and the Rollins Band. A long-ass list, so dig through that. Check out that episode. It's very cool. We've had on past episodes with guys from Seven Dust, Hatebreed, Superjoint, Avatar, Megadeth, Testament, Toxic Holocaust, Guns N' Roses, Shinedown, Kiss, Tesla, a long-ass list. 298 previous episodes you can check into. You can listen to us pretty much anywhere podcasts are heard. Wherever you listen, be sure and subscribe or follow so you don't miss any future episodes. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We've got those reviews of Hatebreed and Dark Tranquility I mentioned earlier. We've also got recent ones about Alter Bridge and Metallica. All kinds of stuff on there as well. Follow us on all our socials. You can see all those at thethunderunderground.com. You can even listen to the podcast there. There's reviews up all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I think that covers it for another one. Besides all those bands that I just mentioned a minute ago, I forgot to mention one, and that was Severmind. And They will be on the very next episode, episode 300.
That's right.
They've been on episode 100, episode 200, and of course now 300. So my guess is I'll probably be on episode 400, but you'll have to wait and see.
I hope.
If Robert Plant's available that week, I'm going to have to kick Derek Sanders to the curb. I'm sorry.
Or James Hetfield or Slash.
So there's the three people that will. Anyone else will get episode 399 or 401.
Triumvirate.
Yeah, but those three guys will bump Severmind for 400. I'm calling it now.
Right.
All right. We'll look forward to that one next week. If you didn't check out Paige Hamilton earlier this week, once again, thank you to Freeman Promotions and Mike Spreitzer. Thank you to Hella Hot Sauce, Sunset Tattoo, Med Farm, and DEB Concerts. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.